How's it going? In this video I'm going to be giving some advice for animation students or people who are planning on studying animation. Now just to be clear, I'm no expert on this by any means. I'm just someone who went to a public university and got a degree in animation. So this video is just basically going to go over either things I wish I'd known or just tips and things I've come across along my way. I spent a lot of time working on my thesis project for my senior year, and the result was a 7-minute animation. Took a lot of hard work, but I'm pretty proud of how it came out. One of the big takeaways from working on that project is what my animation professor used to say: don't go out for pizza, right? So that basically just means if you get stuck on any part of the project, let's say you're writing the script, don't just go out for pizza and take a break and go hang out with your friends. Work on a different aspect of the project. You get stuck on the script, start working on the characters. If that's not going well, you can start working on background art, or you can get the voices done. While making my thesis, I also learned how important it is to have a schedule for yourself. Think of every last thing you need to do to get the animation done, and then assign a date when you're going to do it and stick to your schedule. But in terms of studying animation, I do have a few things to say. First of all, keep your mind open. Ask yourself why you want to study animation. There's way more different kinds of animation than just the 3D animation we see in a lot of Pixar films nowadays. I see a lot of people who go into studying animation who sort of just say, oh, my dream job is to work at Pixar. The thing is, there are so many other different kinds of animation. What people often don't realize is that with the big feature-length animations, there's a lot of people involved with the project whose job is to only do one small part of making that animation happen. One artist might deal with all the hair, one artist might deal with character animation, and other artists deal with rigging up the characters themselves. My point is, a lot goes into making one of those huge 3D animated films, and there are other ways that you can do animation without all those resources. You can animate with sand. A lot of people are familiar with claymation, but you can also do top-down claymation, where the clay is flat and the camera is above. And of course, you could do what I used to do when I was a kid and just buy a packet of Post-it notes and start drawing on those and use it as a flipbook. If you really want to be a good animator, you're going to learn the fundamentals, the foundations, right? The software is always changing, and so if you rely on just knowing the one software, then you're going to be out of luck when the industry changes. But what makes you a good animator is your fundamentals. Ollie Johnston and Frank Thomas were some Disney animators, and they wrote a book in 1981 called The Illusion of Life. I highly recommend it. It goes over the 12 basic principles of animation. But even if you don't have time to read the book, at least check out the Vimeo animation. I'm going to link it in the description. It demonstrates some of these basic principles. There's squash and stretch, where things like, for example, a bouncing ball will change their shape. Anticipation is really important. It's like setting up a movement. Picture when someone's feet scramble before they take off. Follow through and ease in, ease out are basically the same thing as an object in motion wants to stay in motion and an object at rest wants to stay resting. So in other words, if something's moving, it wants to keep moving, and if something's still, it needs to build up before it gets going. There's exaggeration and timing, and then there's secondary actions which can supplement your main action. Or one little thing, like maybe as a character's walking, their hat sort of jumps up with each bounce. Now those aren't all the principles. If you wanna learn about them all, like I said, either read the book or check out the Vimeo link in the description. But those are just a few of the things that are gonna make the difference between someone who learned the software and can animate and an animator using the software to its fullest extent to produce a convincing illusion of life. Because that's what animation means. It means to give life to something. That's what we're trying to do here. Another thing I wanted to say is that if you're going to go to college, especially to learn animation, you're spending some money, just know what you're there to learn. Especially nowadays with YouTube and stuff, it's actually pretty easy to learn a lot of this software online in your own time. But what's harder to learn without school or work experience are the principles of animation, how to actually complete a project and stay on task, how to work on a team, and a lot of other fundamental parts of animation that you don't necessarily get from those tutorials. just be prepared to, put in some time outside the classroom. Just know that you can't learn everything in the classroom. And of course, it varies from program to program, but the bottom line is that no matter what program you're going to be in, there's always going to be those who sort of just coast on through and those who really put in that extra, the 110%. I would totally say that if you're passionate about this, then go that extra mile. It makes a huge difference. Really, the biggest thing you're going to need is patience. You don't finish an animation overnight. You don't get good at animating overnight. It's something that takes a lot of time. Animation is kind of like setting up dominoes. You can spend hours and hours setting them up, and when you flick them over, it's only going to last like a minute. But it can be so rewarding when you finish, because that 1 minute you get is just so spectacular.
Awesome!
Seeing something come to life is pretty magical, and that's why I love animation. So if you stay patient, I really do believe that everybody can do it. So I hope this helped at least a little bit. Again, I'm no expert. I didn't want to get into the nitty-gritty of how to actually make an animation, or how I personally organize a project and stay on task. But I'm open to doing videos about that sort of thing if you guys are interested in hearing. I can always go into more detail about what I've done in the past, so just let me know. I'd say if there were some main takeaways from this video, they would be: keep an open mind to different types of animation. It's not just that 3D Pixar style animation. It's not just the software that matters. You have to know the fundamental principles of animation if you want to be a really solid animator. And if you're going to go to school for this sort of thing, just know what you're trying to get out of it. Be prepared to put in a little work outside of class, and have patience. So that's all I had to say. Again, I hope this helped at least a few of you, even if just a little bit. And that's all for now. So, peace out.